Good morning, and I'm reading from Mark chapter 14, verse 1 to 11. Now, the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread were only 2 days away, and the chief priests and the teachers of the law were looking for some sly way to arrest Jesus and kill him. But not during the feast, they said, or the people may riot. While he was in Bethany, reclining at the table in the home of a man known as Simon the leper, a woman came with an alabaster jar of very expensive perfume made of a pure nard. She broke the jar and poured the perfume on his head. Some of those present were saying indignantly to one another, "Why this waste of perfume? It could have been sold for more than a year's wages and the money given to the poor." And they rebuked her harshly. "Leave her alone," said Jesus. "Why are you bothering her? She has done a beautiful thing to me. The poor you will always have with you, and you can help them anytime you want. But you will not always have me." She did what she could. She poured perfume on my body beforehand to prepare for my burial. I tell you the truth, wherever the gospel is preached throughout the world that she has done will also be told in memory of her. Then Judas Iscariot, one of the 12, went to the chief priests to betray Jesus to them. They were delighted to hear this and promised to give him money. So he watched for an opportunity to hand him over.
Subscribe our channel and hit the bell icon so you will receive more notification.
This same passage is also described in Matthew chapter 26, and we notice that some of these present, they were the disciples of Jesus Christ who were indignant by seeing what this woman has done, spent a very expensive perfume on Jesus. They were lacking the context. They did not know what was going to happen to Jesus. Any action interpreted out of context reveals or reflects your ignorance and also your attitude towards a person. And so they were indignant. Apparently, they seems to be logically right and financially very good steward. They seem to be morally upright when they said, this is an year's wages and this could be given to the poor. But somehow they lack the perspective, they lack the context. Jesus told them, "The poor you will always have with you, and you can help them anytime you want, but you will not always have me." She did what she could. She poured perfume on my body beforehand to prepare for my burial. Remember, good action, social action, charitable actions, in absence of personal devotion to our Lord and Jesus Christ, is simply an expression of self-righteousness. Jesus is not against charity and loving and caring the poor, but also he wants us to put us into the right perspective. What is the first? What is priority in our life? The disciples failed to understand that. It's interesting that the passage has two references in chapter 14 verse 4 and verse 10. And whatever Jesus is saying is sandwiched in between. Verse 4, we have a disciple who is so much obsessed with a concern for the poor, want to do a social work and charity work, but unable to understand what is going to happen with Jesus. Fail to recognize the time and the context. In verse 10, you have Judas Iscariot, who is obsessed and preoccupied with money. For him, money is more important. He failed to recognize Messiah, Jesus Christ, who was going to die. And so it's interesting that this passage puts things into right perspective, and Jesus tells us what is to be put in the first place. How should we look at the context first before we interpret any actions? May God help us that on a day-to-day basis, as we make choices, as we interpret certain actions, we are careful in what we do. I remember, visiting a person, and he's getting up at 10 o'clock, and it was very quick for me to interpret and judge the person that he's he's getting up 10 o'clock. But very little did I know that he had returned from abroad and he had a jet lag, and that's the reason he was sleeping late. People can have insomnia and could not sleep and can get up late. But as you see the person, you are likely to interpret. So a text out of context can become a pretext. And that's what happened for the disciples here. They could not recognize, they could not understand what was going to happen to Jesus. The poor you'll always have, but you will not have me. See, pour perfume on my body beforehand to prepare for my burial. May God help us to put Jesus in our life always first. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.
Subscribe our channel and hit the bell icon so you will receive more notification.